Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Kayla and I'm so excited for you to meet Abby. Today we're talking about faith and how it's affecting her journey. Y'all, she is funny and such a joy to talk to. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss an episode in this Nurturing Faith series. Okay, let's hop into the video. Hi Abby, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I want you to start by introducing yourself.
Okay, so my name's Abby. I used to live in Florida and now I'm a freshman here at Troy University. And yeah.
Nice. Okay. Nice. Okay, so we're gonna jump in. Abby, why is faith important to your journey?
So faith is just so important to your journey because just as Paul explains it in Hebrews, he says that faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. And so really faith it boosts your relationship with God. And it really like testing your faith and like stepping out into faith, it really means just putting your trust in God. And so I see it as like you're putting your trust in something that's invisible. And I know that sounds like crazy, like why would you do that? What is wrong with you? But it's truly something that like it tests your faith. It tests, are you going to trust God in this process? Are you going to give me your faith so that you can grow? And so I think whenever you put your trust in God and putting your faith in God, that regardless of the good or bad consequence, you're saying, God, I trust you. You have my life. Take it all. I'm done. It's all you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically just like giving God the control and like letting him have it. And so faith is so important in your relationship with him.
In your specific journey, like, I guess, could you do like a comparison and contrast between your life before Jesus and then your life like now, walking with Jesus, living for Jesus?
Yeah, so really, because I always grew up in the church and surrounded by just a faith-based family, and like my mom would pour into me, my dad would kind of pour into me, and I was at church all the time. And so I always knew about God and I thought I had a relationship with him. Like I got baptized in the lake by my uncle when I was 6 years old. And so I really didn't start understanding what a relationship with God was until around high school, which seems late, but for me it was like, yeah. And so like
it was earlier than me, so hey.
It's all right. It's all good.
All right. Perfect timing. Yes.
So, like around middle school, I was just like doing whatever I wanted. I was a angsty teen, and I would try to like cuss and live my life because I thought it was cool. And then high school came around, and I was like, ooh, I don't feel so good.
Yeah.
And so all the insecurities, all the doubts, all the like, am I good enough, started coming into my mindset. And 10th grade, I went to a kind of youth conference.
Yeah.
And at the very end, one of the speakers was just saying, okay, who wants to give their life to Christ? And I raised my hand. I was like, you know what, God, like, you're so right. Like, I'm not, I don't feel right in my life and I'm not following your ways like I was taught to, and I just need to start over. And so in that moment, I fell on my knees. I was crying. I was like shouting out to God. And that was the moment when I first received visions. And I just saw myself dancing around the throne room in like this big purple ball gown dress. And I was dancing for the Lord. And then later I saw him reaching down his hands for me. Like he wants me. He wants to have that relationship with me.
Yeah.
So I really knew what a relationship was around high school. And it just kept growing and growing into now my college years. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of have a similar story. Like I grew up in the church. And then, I was doing my thing. I didn't really know the implications of being saved, being a Christ follower, but it was college when I rededicated my life. And still then, I really didn't know the implications. I just felt that tug. So I rededicated my life. But it was 2018 when I really surrendered. And that whole year was God was just, man, so incredible. The way he just, took my heart and just, I don't know.
Especially at college year too. Like,
even
just traditional university. Like, I'm in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
All right? Like, there's churches on every corner, okay?
Yeah.
Like, there's still people that I'll run into or I have a class with that are just living their own life and like doing their own thing. And so that college age, it's really tough. And so for you to be able to say, you know what, I'm not doing what's right. Yeah. Especially like that college age mentality where I know what I'm doing, I know what's right, I have my life all planned out. And so to be able to stop and say, no, I'm not in the right. Jesus, you're right.
And it was still, I will say, it was a little bit later. So it was not till grad school when I was like, all right, Jesus, like, let's.
Grace is sufficient.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yes. That's awesome though. But you said you received your gift of visions, or I guess it was kind of like unlocked for you. So it was 2018. That's actually when I received the gift of tongues. And I was like, at first I was like, God, like, if this is not from you, allow me not to say a thing like that. But then I went to a conference and it was a life-changing conference. And I was like, oh, this is tongue. This is from God. This is good. So that's awesome, Abbey. So besides Jesus, because he provides the perfect example of how to nurture faith, is there anyone else you look up to when it comes to nurturing your faith?
Yes. My mother.
Mama D.
Mama D. Yes. She is so good and so amazing. And just seeing her faith grow and her walk with Christ grow ever since I was a child has been such an inspiration, and she's such an influencer. Yes. And she is to other people, but even in her own home, like, that's where it started. And so it was basically just, she would talk with me every single day, or she would kind of check in on me and say, hey, what have you read it in your word today? What verse was that? Hey, are you keeping up with your relationship with God? And so she's always keeping me accountable, always, even when it's a struggle sometimes, because I am very stubborn. And hearing correction from my mother is not fun. But remembering that it all comes back to God, and really just focusing and aligning my life that is right with his word and everything. Yeah. So, my mama is.
That is good. Yeah. Shout out Mama D. Okay, so God works miracles and wonders every day. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of them all. Which personal faith story will forever be memorable?
So, trying to think of a good one. I know one is the North Carolina story. And so, after I graduated high school in 2018, I really felt called, and I really felt like I wanted to go to North Carolina. And
so glad, or I wouldn't have met you.
Come on, this story.
Yes.
This would have happened.
Right.
So, at my aunt and uncle's church, I decided to go there, and they had a leadership college, and I was going to intern at the church, and it was just so exciting. And I got to meet Kayla, which was great. And so I stayed there for about 2 years. I was working my butt off at Chick-fil-A and staying there late hours and then driving 30 minutes to go home. And it was getting a little rough for me. But I never wanted to admit it because I loved where I was. And so when I went home for, I think, Thanksgiving break, I was kind of thinking in my mind, like, should I really be staying in North Carolina? It's a lot, but I love where I am. Like, I'm willing to put in the work. And my mom was saying, I think you need to come home. Like, I think it's just time for a change. And I was like, what are you talking about? No way. No. Like, after this year, maybe. We'll see. And so then came back home for winter break. And my mom was like, okay, we need to start deciding when you're going to move, when you're going to pack. Like, we need to discuss this. And I was like, what are you talking about? No, at the end of like this school year, so like next summer, like that's when I would decide. And mom was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you all right?" Yes. So I was praying about it, and then what's funny is that, so the next morning we were out of coffee at my house, and God always speaks to me with coffee. It's always been there. And so we're out of coffee at my house, and mom was saying, oh, well, one of my friends is going to come over, and if she brings any coffee, then that's fine. And then she had an idea, and I was just like waking up. This was like 7 a.m. I wasn't fully awake. I didn't have coffee. I was exhausted. And so she was like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. But if my friend brings coffee into this house, that means you're supposed to come home. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Okay. And so,
oh my gosh.
My mom's friend came in.
Yep.
He was like, hey, do y'all have any coffee? And I was like, oh, no, we don't have anything. We just ran out. She's like, I actually have some in my car. I'll be right back. So she goes comes back. He has a little Keurig cup, pokes the hole and puts it in her coffee thing.
Oh my
And
gosh.
my mom comes in and she was like, hey, how are you? And looks at the coffee pot and she's like, where'd you get that coffee? Her friend was like, oh, I just brought it in. I was just gonna make a coffee.
Yeah.
And her mom yelling. She's like, starts running, and I'm like thinking, and I'm like, what is she talking about? And so then it finally hit me, like, oh crap, God is calling me back home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that whole thing happened, and I was like, no, just let me figure this out, and then spring break, I'll make the decision. So I kept pushing it, as you can tell. I kept trying to barter and bargain.
Yes.
So, then 2020, so COVID started to hit around spring break, and that was my spiritual spanking, because it literally felt like I was being torn from the family that I found, from like the friends, the relationships, and literally what I felt like was my calling.
Yeah.
And so I was on I had a week-long conversation with my mom, and I was crying. I remember just bawling my eyes out before going into work, saying, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And so I had a really like a Jonah moment. And so I was like, I don't want to go back to Nineveh. I don't want to go. And so, like finally at the end of that week, I was like, okay, like, I think God's calling me home, even though and so that just felt like I just felt just terrible and like awful about it. But I got back home, and then I started getting to my routines again, and I started understanding like I was only in North Carolina for a season, and that was to build my faith and build it, and understanding what a relationship with God was, and then coming back home and working for that year, kind of trying to save money, trying to say, okay, what am I going to do next? This is my break period. This is like the breath of fresh air from going from high school straight into the school of ministry, and then finally getting a break. And so then after that year, I just kind of felt complacent, and I was like, God, like I feel kind of stuck, like what's going on? And so that's when I just started understanding what I was being called into, and that's when God just started like just giving me little visions and little words, wisdom, and just everything. And so I ended up understanding that some of my calling is just like speaking and encouraging others, and I got plugged into the church back home, and I was in the youth group, and I was leading over girls, and that's what really like just makes my heart happy is kind of being that big sister, and just pouring into the young teen girls, and so God placed that back on my heart. And then I had always wanted to get my degree, and so whenever my brother ended up getting a scholarship here to Troy, then I was like, you know what, I might as well get Troy. So I'll come on with you. And so now I'm here, and I'm pursuing the communications major, and so trying to just see what God has planned for me, just going step by step at a time.
God is so good. That's so good, Abs. Yes. Faith can require some level of obedience to God. When God is calling you to step out in faith, but fear arises, how do you combat that?
Woo! So when it comes to obedience to God, I have a mix of kind of a fear of the unknown and a lot of stubbornness.
Yeah.
I'm a lot like Peter, Simon Peter, remember him? That guy.
I love it.
Have you ever seen The Chosen? A lot like Peter.
Oh man.
When it comes to obedience, I can be a little stubborn. And so how I combat that is I just try to remember my comfort verse. And it's Jeremiah 29:11 through 13, I believe. I have it in here.
Yeah.
And so it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back from captivity. I will gather you from all the nations and places where I have banished you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back to the place from which I had carried you into exile."
Wow.
And so, this really, it's all about surrender. And so that's, obedience and surrender, they go hand in hand.
Yes.
And just coming to the Lord and just coming before him and saying, God, I'm going to trust you in this. I surrender all of my ways, and I'm going to come under you and just follow you and lay it down at your feet. And obedience, it's so hard for me because I want to do my own thing, and God is just like, there you go, just listen to me. Listen to me. I have the plans for you.
And his plans are so much better. Yeah. So much better.
Yes. So, just like letting go. And I always, when I was praying this morning and like going over some verses, like I always had the Frozen, the Let It Go song in my head, and Into the Unknown from the second one.
Yeah.
And so just and just being obedient.
Yeah.
Just listen to him. Like it'll save so much trouble.
Yeah.
And one of my other verses that I love to look back on is Habakkuk, which is fun to say. Habakkuk.
Yeah.
If you've never heard of that one, I'm gonna tell you straight up, nobody's heard of it.
Oh no.
But so my favorite is Habakkuk 3:19, and so it says, "The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to tread on new heights." And when I was researching it, a deer, they place their back feet exactly where their front feet has been, and so whenever they step, their feet are secure, whether they're going up a mountain, like across the land, wherever they are. And so when it says he enables you, like he has given you everything that you need. Learning. And so I was at a small group the other night, and one of my friends was saying that you're not meant to stay in the boat, and you're not meant to skip the fire. And so like you're not meant to stay in the boat with Jesus. You're meant to go out and walk on that water, even if storms are crashing around you. Jesus right there. And with the fire, you're not meant to skip the fire. You have to go through it sometimes, and it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
Go through it, and it sucks. But going through it and just staying obedient to him and keeping your eyes on him, like Peter in the boat, keeping your eyes on him is going to make your life so much easier. And it just, you can let go of that sense of control, and it's going to be okay. And I know it's hard because it's hard for me to let go of control, but it's so much better, and so like it just makes life so much easier when you're no longer in control.
Right. So in this faith journey, it's not strange to experience moments of doubt in an outcome, doubt in ourselves, even doubt in God's plans for us. How can nurturing your faith and cultivating an attitude of gratitude be healthy and helpful in these tough moments?
I love attitude of gratitude. That's so cute. I think once again, it just comes back to knowing that God is in control and surrendering yourself and taking all of those thoughts captive. Because like doubt can be so like it happens naturally. And it happens because we're human. And
it's inevitable.
Like, it's inevitable. And like we're just thinking like from a worldly perspective to like
wow.
godly perspective.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so when I'm in those moments, like humbling yourself and just shouting into the Lord and like being so thankful for where you are now and understanding that like I was saying, like taking every single thought captive and getting out of that mindset of, oh, I can't do this, oh, I shouldn't do this, or oh, this can't happen because of blah 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 blah. Just like stop. Take a moment. Take the thought captive.
Yeah.
And what that means is comparing it to scripture. So like taking that thought and saying, okay, what does the Bible say about this? What does the word say about this?
Yeah.
What does it mean when I'm having these feelings?
Wow.
And back to the small group last night, they were talking about an app and it's literally called Shut Up Devil.
Ooh,
have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah, so it's called Shut Up Devil. And basically you just type in whatever you're going through, whether it's temptation or a sin or just like anything, doubts, sadness, depression, like anything, literally anything.
Wow.
And it'll come up with verses that combat it.
I love that.
So, yeah, like I was saying, just like taking every thought captive, combat it with scripture, because truth is the only thing that will take out the lies.
Wow.
The only way. And yeah.
That's so good. I think it was last year, I was just feeling inadequate and just kind of down. So I got my notebook, you know, we love journals, and I wrote out the lie, and then I wrote out, and I wrote out verses that were the truth. It's like, no, you know, this isn't true, you know, and I did that for every lie that I was, you know, feeling, and it helped. And I can go back to that and rehearse it, you know. All right, and the last question, how do you practically nurture your faith?
How I nurture my faith is I am just in his presence daily. And sometimes it's not always daily. I will admit that I like to be lazy sometimes, but always striving to just be in his presence daily and being in his word. And it seriously sucks when I'm not. Like I feel it, like in myself, like, am I in my word? Am I in my word?
Same.
And so, like I can feel the difference when I haven't been in my word and when I have. And it's not that I want to avoid that feeling, it's that I want to pursue my relationship with God, because when you seek after him, he seeks after you. And just like I was saying in Jeremiah 29:11, like when you seek my heart, like I'll show my face to you, like we're gonna have this relationship. And and so just always walking with him daily and just finding those little moments to be in his presence. And like it doesn't have to be like an hour-long psalm session. It doesn't have to be like 5 minutes, like meditating on it, worshiping, just something like that.
I was like, just being intentional. Finding time, just being intentional, you know, like it can be an hour if that's what you want to do. If you have the time to do that, hey, and sometimes we do. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, you know, and just 5 intentional minutes, you know, and hey, I love it. Abs, thank you so much for sharing your heart.
Thank you for inviting me on.